Looks like we are officially live on Facebook. It looks like it's just loading a little bit on my side. So if you are all here, hello again. Thank you for your patience. It is a Monday morning, and I feel like my computer also knows that it's a Monday morning. I don't think it's used to waking up early anymore. Let's just make sure. Okay, looks like we are good. Hey everybody, it's Hartley Logic here with Ultradent Products, and I am lucky to meet Miss Nicole Middendorf today. Nicole, do you want to give us a little background about yourself?
I never planned on being a financial advisor. I went to school for international business and marketing, and I had lived over in Germany in high school as well as college. I studied abroad, and so I became fascinated with the United Nations, and I wanted to make big things happen and make change. So my plan was to go to law school and be like Madeleine Albright or Ruth Bader Ginsburg and make some impact. But what's really cool is I always believe things happen for a reason, even the bad things that happen. What can we learn from it? What can we take away? And so I got married right out of college and married someone that was a financial advisor. And I was selling Mary Kay cosmetics. And I started selling Mary Kay to all the men at the Morgan Stanley office here in Minnesota. And the branch manager pulled me aside one day and he said, "Hey, if you can sell makeup to men, you should be a financial advisor." I'm like, "No, that's okay." And by the third branch manager that told me that, I'm like, maybe I should listen to them. Well, I ended up, I had taken a job in international business, ended up leaving there to work for Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance as a recruiter. And after a while, they said to me, they're like, "That's great that you're recruiting people, but you should take the tests that you're giving out to people." So I did. And I took the test and they said, "Your scores are off the chart. You should be an insurance agent." I'm like, "Nope, that's okay. That's not me. That's not my thing." And yeah, so they said, "Well, if you're not going to be an agent, like you're done." So here I was, no job. And everyone around me was telling me that I should be a financial advisor. And sometimes people can see things that you can't necessarily see yourself. So I decided to listen to them and got licensed, studied, started working at Morgan Stanley, and just taught classes all the time, did cold calling, you name it. I'm not from money. And eventually in 2003, left Morgan Stanley to start my own business. Fast forward, got divorced, and legally in 2012, rebranded as Prosper Wealth Financial and basically started all over. And so my mom was a business owner. I just always knew that I would be a business owner. I love owning a business. I own my own commercial building as well. And through all of this, like I really feel that I have the ability to take something that can be complex and boring and overwhelming, which is money, and make it fun and interesting. And it's because I didn't grow up in this environment that, oh, I want to be a financial advisor, and I'm very analytical and I'm very left brain, but I'm also very right brained. And when I left Morgan Stanley in 2003, I started doing a radio show, and I did that every Saturday for 5 years, which looking back now, I'm like, how did I do that? How did I give up every Saturday of my life for 5 years? But from that, people would call in and ask financial questions. And I then realized, wow, I'm making an impact. I'm not making this huge global impact that I had planned on, but I'm making this huge impact. And now fast forward, I'm generally on TV. Most of the stuff is national now, generally on TV once a week. And my 5th book came out last fall. And I'm just this huge advocate for helping people with their money, especially in the times that we are right now, where it can be extra stressful, to add that sense of motivation, or taking something that can be very complex and overwhelming and making it really real and authentic. And I'm a single mom. My kids are now 10 and 11. And so I'm juggling this like everyone else is. How do you manage as a parent with e-learning, as well as how do you manage your business, and how do you stay safe, and how do you not panic in the kind of environment that we're in? So I'm all about educating people and helping people with their business as well as with their personal finances.
That's amazing. I love all of this. Boss mom, by the way, congratulations to you. Going here, making it up here.
Yeah.
Super impressed by you. So I have a question. How many dental clients do you have? Because we have dentistry here.
Yeah, we have about 6 of them. And I'm feeling very blessed that my kids got to see one of them right a few days before us in Minnesota went on shutdown. And so we help practices. And so I'm very familiar with their business and the things that they're dealing with, as well as most of them with us have set up simple plans as a retirement plan. But they're struggling. I mean, and I have lots of clients as well that have dental issues that are needing to see their dentist. And so it's become a big struggle, particularly here in Minnesota, as well as across the country.
Yep. In Utah, you can still see emergency patients. I know that in Pennsylvania, you can't see anybody whatsoever. I know that each state is different, and I don't have all of the lists of everything because I feel like it changes all the time, and we're at Monday now, and so who knows what's changed over the past 3 days. But I do have some questions that we have for you. So how do we move forward with this? A lot of the offices are shut down. Mm-hmm. What do you do right now?
Right. Now's the time. I keep seeing so many people on Facebook and Instagram, like, what movie should I be watching? What should I binge? I'm like, oh my gosh, do you want me to give you a list of things to do? So now is the time. If you have a financial plan, now is the time to review that financial plan. And if you don't have one, now is the time to get one. And so that's where, if you have a plan, generally you're planning, and I don't ever want to be all doom and gloom. I'm such an optimist by nature, but you're planning for the what ifs. What if, and who can ever predict a pandemic, but you're planning of, what if something happens to me? What if something happens to my key employees? What if something happens to my spouse? What if something happens to my kids? And that's what your financial plan is for. And so if you don't have one, now's the time to get one. And if you do have one, now's the time to pull it out to say, okay, are there some things that I need to adjust with my financial plan, and what's my roadmap look like? Do I need to change my roadmap? Right. And the biggest thing is to not panic. I mean, especially with the stock market, you don't panic. We've had a good couple of days. We're having another good day today. Yep. That doesn't mean it's going to keep going up. The market goes up and down. And so when you're investing for the long term, that's generally 10 years or more, which means that's your SEP IRAs or your simple IRAs or your 401k plans, your IRAs. When you're investing for the long term, you want to look at it that it's long-term investing. You don't want to say, oh my gosh, the market's crashing, I need to do something, and panic and pull out. I actually just taped a podcast yesterday, and I talked about how the S&P 500, so the S&P 500 is just the 500 largest companies out there. And up until 2018, the 20 years prior, the S&P 500 did almost 6%. But the average investor didn't even earn 4% for that same time period. Why is that? Because they panic and they pull out, and then they're like, oh my gosh, the market's going up, and then they get back in. And if you miss some of those best days in there, that's really can be such a huge detriment to you. And so the biggest thing is to get a plan. If you don't have one, if you have one, look at it, review it. Then it's don't panic. And it's also understand your emotions. I just got off the phone with a client. She's a business owner. And she's like, I am so angry. I just let her vent for a couple minutes. She's like, I don't get it. Why is my business? She's like, I don't have my employees really working. She has one key employee that's working remotely. She's like, I'm in my store, but people can't come here. She's kind of a retail component. She's like, but thank goodness I have things set up that I'm shipping out product. She's like, but this isn't fair. I'm mad. Walmart's open and people can go find my product at Walmart, but they can't come to my own physical stores. And so she's like, I'm angry. And she's like, what are the stages of grief?
Where am I at right now?
Where am I now? Where am I going to be? And so, yes, we all have emotions, and you need to feel those emotions and sit with them and say, okay, where am I? Am I not in the denial stage anymore? Am I in the anger stage? Where am I? Am I feeling sadness about this? Am I feeling just at a loss? and acknowledge those emotions and then set them aside so that you can make decisions that are smart with the information that you have today relating to your business, to your family, to your kids, whatever it may be. And so those are the two biggest things that you can do that'll help give you a good foundation to be able to make some of these decisions that are more detailed of, what do I do with my employees? Do I lay them off? Like, do I close one of my locations? All the various different questions that are stewing around in your brain right now that you're thinking, oh my gosh, what do I do? How do I fix this?
Now, that's a question that I keep seeing in all of the dental groups that I'm in. Do I lay off my employees? I obviously want these employees to come back when all this is over, but I don't know what to do. And along with that, if I don't lay them off, do I have to pay their PTO? Do I pay their vacation? What are we doing with that? It feels like a little bit of chaos, which can cause more of that, like sitting with your emotions. Okay, we're in the denial stage. All right, now we're in the anger stage. What's the best case scenario?
Right. So you've got to look at your business and where are you and where do you see yourself coming out after this? I really feel like there's a lot of people that are going to thrive from this. And it's not that they're taking advantage of a bad situation, but I really see, like, for us, we are taking so much of our content virtually. I'm doing so many more podcasts. We're doing, yes, like this. We're doing so many things nationally. And so it's really shifting my practice so much more national in a faster effort than we've done prior. Rather than me hopping on a plane before, flying out to New York, going on TV, or flying to Texas, going on TV, Arizona, LA, wherever, spending time away from my business and spending time away from my family, here I am doing all of these things and changing everything virtually. And so we now have a kids in cash class because my kids are at home. And so every Thursday we go on live and one of my kids is with me and we're talking about kids and money. And so thinking about how can you do something, how can you take advantage of the situation that we're in. I've always wanted to do financial education for kids. Well, here's a huge opportunity. Kids are at home, parents are struggling. What do I do? How do I all of a sudden become a teacher and an educator? And so think of some ways that you can be out there. It's interesting because my daughter, over the weekend, she was talking to me about, man, I wish I had braces. I'm like, no, like you have perfect teeth. I'm so thankful you don't need them. I never had them. I'm so thankful. And she's like, yeah, Mom, I was watching videos. There's a dentist and she really meant an orthodontist on TikTok showing how to fix your braces when they're like, if you've got something, and I don't know these technical terms, so when you have something sticking out. So, that's where utilize this platform to be out there and provide education, because then when we are finally able to go back and come to your location and actually get our teeth cleaned and get help, we've received information and we're going to come see you. And so that's where I really feel like some people are going to thrive through this. And that's where you want to be focusing your energies on. And so think about, okay, how many employees do you have? How can you use this and market and expand your business so you have greater growth when you're able to open your physical doors again? And then from those projections, how many people are you going to need? And maybe you're realizing, I don't need 2 locations. Maybe I should shut down one. This is going to be some time that you have on your hands that you can get your financial plan, get a budget for your personal life as well as your business, and then redo your business plan and figure out what are your goals and what makes sense. Because it doesn't help you at all or serve you at all to make a rash decision and lay off your employees. And don't get me wrong, I've had numerous questions. I had one client today. She's like, oh my gosh, Nicole, I'm furloughed. So understand there's a difference between laying people off and putting them and having someone furloughed. And so realize
the difference right there, because a lot of people are messaging that.
Yes, and I'm hearing tons of people are getting furloughed. We are hearing tons of people are getting laid off, but laid off means you're done. Furloughed means most of these people are being cut back to like a quarter. So you're still on payroll, but we're going to pay you only a quarter of what you were making before, but you're still an employee. And the thought behind that, why a lot of companies are doing that, is because the environment that we're in. prior to all of this, we were interviewing like crazy. We needed another employee here at Prosper Well. And so I'm kind of thankful that I didn't find that perfect person and hire them, just because it's so hard remotely working and getting that person up to speed and having that feeling of culture and connection with everyone in the office. But it's hard. Part of this, the biggest complaint that I heard people say is it was so hard to find good employees.
Yeah, it
So
is.
if you go and lay people off, and then all of a sudden you're out there and you're like, hey, I'm going to be creative. I'm going to go on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook and connect with all these people that need help and need to see a dentist when they're able to finally, then you're going to need these employees. And if you've laid them off, are you going to be able to get them back? And so that's where it's taking a step back, understanding your emotions, getting a plan, and figuring out what really makes sense for you. There's tons. The whole reason the stimulus bill was put into place is to keep businesses like us all keeping our employees employed. And so there's loans, there's possibly even forgiveness loans out there. And those are forgiveness loans if you're using this money for payroll. And so check with your bank, check with the SBA. You can go to SBA online. Check with what's out there if you need help, which most people do, need help from a cash flow standpoint, because you don't necessarily have the money coming in like you did before. And you've got this short-term crunch of, okay, I need to keep my employees. I need to keep them being paid. If I cut them back and only pay them a quarter of what they were being paid before, how much money do I need and how long can I make it?
Right.
So those are the bigger questions that you want to be focused on, rather than, oh my gosh, I don't have income coming in, let me lay off everyone. You don't want to shoot yourself in the foot.
Right, because this is going to be over. It's not going to last forever.
Right.
So the question of PTO and sick time. I know in California, if you're in a furlough, you're required by law to actually pay that sick time and that PTO. Do you know if that's like a national thing, if it's state by state?
It's state by state. And that's where you want to connect with right now, you want to connect with your business attorney. You want to connect with your financial advisor. And if you have real estate, you want to connect with your real estate attorney. And so you want to connect with these people because every state is different. My business attorney posted a thing this morning out on Facebook about kind of, here's all the snippets of the things that you really need to know. And we're here for you, and we get it. If you have no revenue coming in, call us. We're here to give you some advice and work through it with you. So it also depends what your own employee handbook has and what it says. So you probably haven't read that in some time. Maybe you haven't updated it in some time. This is the time to use that. I mean, so many people are like, oh my gosh, I'm so bored. I'm like, really? I'm like, I'm so busy. I'm like, I would love to be I never really would love to be bored, but I'd love to have not be so intense right now with life. But utilize this time that you are at home. Spend the time with your kids. Get them set up on the e-learning. Have those conversations with yourself and with your family that because of kids' activities or life or your practice that you don't necessarily have. Take advantage of this time and purge through your house. My daughter and I, we were purging through my closet last night. So take advantage of all the time that you have to set yourself up on a better foundation for when this is all over, that you're ready to run and fast forward to that marathon.
So Nicole, does that mean you haven't been watched The Tiger King on Netflix?
No, I'm like, I have no idea what these people are talking about. Like I'll scroll through Facebook because I did. I put out a post on Facebook yesterday morning. It's a friend, a single mom, a business owner. She could not put out the post herself because of fear of ramifications of her ex-husband's employer. She's now today on day 14, but we posted that here were her symptoms for through day 13. And 2 days ago, so on Friday, she went in the emergency room. Her gums were bleeding, her lips were bleeding, 103 fever. She couldn't talk. She was hot and then cold and just felt nauseous. She was throwing up. And she went into the emergency room here in Minnesota, and they basically said, we don't have tests. They gave her an IV, some Benadryl, and sent her home. And so She wrote how she's lost 10 pounds. She can now see her ribs. And prior to this, so she's young, she's not quite yet 40, and works out every single day, super healthy eater. And so I shared this as a fact of this is the reality of it. And this virus will affect all of us differently. But just to realize that if this happens to you, like you're alone, you're isolated. And so I went onto Facebook to post that to say, hey, we need to be careful. We need to be aware. But at the same time, I'm scrolling through and all these people are talking about all these shows and movies that I have no idea what they're talking about. So,
Well, if you ever do have time, the Tiger King is the big thing right now because there isn't a lot to do. But what I hear you saying is there is a lot. I organized my master bedroom. I went through my cupboards. I didn't know my spices expired. I know that might sound weird. I didn't know. And one of them was from 2010. I'm a little embarrassed, but also who knew? Purged everything and just okay, I have this free time. So what am I going to do with it? And how do I make it productive? Right. I wake up and make my bed every morning. I make sure that I'm getting ready because I don't want to feel that slump of I don't feel like I'm going anywhere or doing anything. I want to feel like I'm living my normal life without having to go into the office right now. You know?
Right. Yep. You want to have that schedule and if you need a list, I'll give you a list of stuff to do. Come up with a budget for you personally and your business. Come up with your financial plan, edit your financial plan. My last book is titled Who Pays? Navigating Love and Money. Chapter 9, it's all questions. And so sit down with your spouse, your significant other. If you're not in a relationship, sit down with yourself and go through these questions. And some of them are, if I had $1 million, what would I do with it? What's my favorite money memory? Utilize this time to figure out, okay, what do you want? Yeah. What's your goal? Has your values changed? How do you think about things? What do you think about your retirement? All of those things, what does that mean to you? And really get yourself situated so that you're able to run when we're able to run.
Okay, so starting a financial plan, either with your business or your personal life, what is steps 1, 2, and 3?
It's writing down, it's first taking an assessment of where you are, saying, okay, where am I? And then where do I want to go? And so a lot of people, I had a client this morning, she emailed me and she's like, I'm not okay. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's single. And I'm like, what's wrong? Are you physically not okay? Do you need me to, send someone over to your house? What? And she's like, no, she's like, I'm now on 4th time and I'm furloughed. And she's like, my net worth has been devastated. And now she's going to be fine. She's definitely going to be fine. I mean, she could not make another penny and she still will be fine. She's set towards retirement. She may not live the same standard of living that she's used to and may have to cut things back if she's not working, but she's going to be fine. And so that's where it's, okay, where are you? Taking an assessment of where are you today? Yes, it's going in and looking at what's the value of your simple plan or what's the value of your 401k, what's the value of your IRAs, how much money do you have liquid? It's looking at where are you? Then it's saying, okay, this is where I am. And then you say, this is where I want to be. So if I want to retire at 62 or 65 or whatever age, what does that look like? And maybe it's, maybe you don't have the desire to buy that cabin anymore. Or maybe you have a cabin and you're thinking, well, gosh, maybe I need to sell it. Maybe my house was for sale and I took it off the market last week. And so that's where you've got to look at your own situation and what makes the most sense for you to make that plan that it makes sense.
That makes sense. We do have a question that just popped up and they said, I would like to understand how to maximize pre-tax opportunities right now.
So if you are a sole proprietor, like you have no employees or you have employees that have been with you for 2 years or less, you're able to set up the SEP IRA. And the SEP IRA just stands for Self-Employed Pension Plan, but it's a SEP IRA. It's basically an IRA. And now with the taxes being changed, that you don't have to have your taxes done until July 15th, you don't have to contribute for last year until July 15th as well. So this is huge. We were really surprised. We heard right away, that, the tax deadline has been moved, which that's never happened in history. But then two, they're like, oh my gosh, wow, clients have more time to contribute to these accounts to get a deduction. It's huge. So the SEP IRA, you're able to take up to 25% of your net income up to 57 grand a year. And that's totally deductible for you. So you now have until July 15th to put up to 25% of your net income away, up to 57 grand a year for 2019. And that's another deduction for you for last year. So huge tool. You can also then contribute for 2020 as well if you've got the cash flow and you've got the ability to do that. But huge is the SEP IRA. Then in addition to that, there's the simple IRA, but that follows still the calendar year. And so that really comes from your payroll. So keep paying yourself if you're able, or make sure that you're maxing that out later on once you start doing payroll again. And then there's the IRAs. So there's the Roth IRA, and then there's the traditional IRA. And think of the traditional IRA like the SEP IRA or the simple IRA or like a 401k plan. You put money in today and you get a benefit. You get a deduction on your tax return. But fast forward in retirement, you go take that money out, you have to pay income taxes on those dollars later. And any one of us that are earning income, you're able to put $6,000 away for last year until July 15th to the traditional IRA. If you're over 50, it's $7,000. Yeah. Now you can do that account, the traditional IRA, or you can do the Roth IRA. Most people choose the Roth. The reason they don't choose the Roth is that they quote unquote make too much money in the government's eyes. So if you as a single person make more than like 150 grand a year, you don't qualify for the Roth IRA. There's something called the backdoor IRA though, and you want to make sure that you take advantage of that. It's too late for 2019, but what happens is you can put money in the Roth, and again, the difference between the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA, if you write out a $6,000 check or we set it up electronically and we pull 6 grand from your bank account and you send that to us and put it in your Roth, no benefit, no deduction. But what happens is whatever that $6,000 or $7,000 if you're over 50, whatever that money grows to when you get to retirement, so let's say it's $1 million and you retire, you don't pay a single cent of tax on that money. Whereas if you have $1 million in your traditional IRA, simple, SEP, 401k plan, you get $1 million, but you have to pay income taxes on all those dollars. So you really only get 500, 600, 700 grand, depending upon what the income tax bracket is at that time. So that's where ideal world, you're able to contribute to the SEP IRA and or the simple or your 401k plan, whatever you have set up for your practice, and then do the traditional or the Roth IRA. But ideal, it's the Roth IRA because you want to have money in both buckets. When things go back to, I hate to say normal, but when they go back to our new normal, when things go back to the new normal, you want to have the flexibility and the choice to say, okay, I want to take my whole family to Hawaii, or I want to take my whole family to Ireland or wherever, or I want to do X, Y, and Z. And you want to have that flexibility to be able to take money from a Roth or take money from a traditional IRA or a 401k plan.
Interesting. I never knew any of this. This is awesome.
And sometimes it can seem overwhelming because you're like, oh my gosh, SEP, simple, IRA, 401k plan, Roth, too much. It's just like when I go to the dentist, I'm listening to them and they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, brush my teeth, floss, I get it. Like that's the basics. Anything else? Oh my gosh. So feel free. You can always email me if you've got questions. I sure can explain it again, but basically do the SEP IRA, do your simple IRA, take advantage of all the accounts that are out there for you, especially now that the government's given us this extension that you have until July 15th to add for last year. Can dramatically help, hopefully put some more money in your pocket.
Right. And speaking of the government, there's supposed to be these checks coming out. How do you know if you're going to get one or if you're not going to get one?
So there's a calculator. You can go online to the calculator and figure it out. So, but basically, if you're a single parent or if you're a single person, let's say a single person, if you're a single person making 100 grand, okay, you're not going to get anything. If you're a single person with 2 kids making 100 grand, you're going to get $950. If you're a family of 4 making under 100 grand, really it's it's about 50, 60,000, you can figure you're going to get about $3,000. So it really is driven by your income. and driven by what your payroll has been or what your W-2 has been. And so that's as a, of 2019. And so that's where it depends, like, so many times as a business owner, our CPAs do such magic and such wonderful jobs. Depending upon what's happened in your business, you may have a higher income year or a lower income year.
Right.
And so you may not be getting anything back, but you may get something back. So I would at least go online to the calculator so that you kind of see, okay, am I getting $1,000? Am I getting 3,000? Am I getting nothing? And what does that really mean to you? And how is it going to really impact you?
And you're going to get that after you've sat down, and instead of binge watching The Tiger King, you're going to have your financial plan, at least steps 1, 2, and 3 ready, right?
Absolutely. And you'll know, okay, I'm taking that money and I'm putting it in my SEP IRA, or I'm taking that money and I'm putting it in my Roth, or what, wherever, or paying off credit cards if you have that high interest credit card debt.
It looks like we have a question from Dr. Joshua Holt. Hi, Dr. Holt. He's actually my dentist. I will say that he is the best. He says the Roth is great, but what is the cutoff amount you can make per year?
Every year is different, and it depends if you're single or if you're married. So in general, it's about 180 grand a year as a married couple and about 140 as a single person.
Interesting.
And so it's different from 2019 as well as it's different from 2020. And so I don't want to spew out tons of numbers and confuse everyone, because there's also a graduated scale. Because like if you make, 154,000, you're able to contribute a certain percentage, and it depends how much your income is. But the important thing is it's your modified adjusted gross income. So it's the bottom number of the first page of your tax return. So it's even more reason to contribute to your 401k or your SEP or your simple. There's so many times, let's say if you're together in a relationship and your spouse is working and has a 401k plan, and you have this, let's say a SEP IRA or a simple plan, you want to contribute to those. Because if that lowers your income and brings you down to 140,000, then you're able to contribute to the Roth. And so it's even more imperative to add to those pre-tax accounts, such as the IRAs, the 401ks, the SEPs, the simples, the things like that. So, and you can email me, and I can tell you, if you tell me what your modified adjusted gross income is, or ask your CPA, they can tell you how much you're able to contribute to the Roth. But again, if you make too much, let's say your modified adjusted gross income is 200 grand, that's okay. You still can do the Roth. What happens is, so every January, I write out a check. I put 6 grand into my traditional IRA. I then take that money out and put that money into the Roth IRA. It's called a backdoor IRA. Yeah. Now, the younger you are, the more it benefits you. And so for me, I always want to have money in both buckets. And for me, it's the thought that I'm still young. At least some days I feel like it. And I'm still going to live for a long period of time. I'd rather have that short-term pain to be able to have money in the Roth IRA. Yep. So that's in addition. There also is something called a conversion, not to confuse people even more, but a conversion is, which these will become pretty popular again this year. So a conversion is if you have a drop in your income for some reason, which a lot of people will this year, you have a drop in your income, you can take money that you have in a traditional IRA or an old 401k plan. You can take those dollars and convert it over into a Roth, and there's no limit. Used to be that you could only convert up to 100 grand. You can do any dollar amount that you want. So we had a client last year, significant drop in income. She was used to making about $350,000 a year. She then converted 400 grand in 1 year into her Roth IRA. There were some other circumstances and things, health-related issues and things like that. That's the reason that she did it. In general, you don't want to add 400 grand to your income in 1 year. But what happens is when you take that money from a traditional IRA and put it in your Roth, you have to pay income taxes on all those dollars. But then from here forward, the money in the Roth, you don't have to pay any taxes on any of the gains. Right. So if you're young and you had a significant drop of income this year, the Roth IRA conversion is something I'd really encourage you to look at before you get to like November, December.
Right. So Get all your ducks in a row when the world opens up again, whenever that's going to be. I know each state is different. Some are out till June, Utah's out till April 30th, some are in May. Like every state is different, so please make sure you know what's going on in your state, and then game plan that for later in the year when we don't have all this chaos going on.
Yes, yes. Have that plan in place so that you're ready, that you can take advantage of, the influx. I just keep thinking, like even my son was talking about this weekend about his hair, and he's like, I'm just gonna let it grow out. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, thankfully I am in my hair salon on May 2nd. Ours opened in Minnesota on May 1st. I'm like, I can't believe it. I've never gone this long without getting my hair done. There's going to be an influx of people that need to see dentists, that need to get into salons, that need to get in all these places. They need you. So utilize this time to get your ducks in a row so that you're ready.
Yeah. If you have any other questions, remember that you can comment below and we will be reading them off as we're talking. Another question that we have for you is moving forward with this right now. So I know a lot of this is about moving forward, but today, what is one thing I can do as a dentist who owns a practice to move forward?
So one, it's get a plan and when you're taking your assessment, the other thing to look at is the debt that you have or any liabilities that you have. Okay. So if there's credit cards that are out there, because we have one dentist that just, I don't want to say has a spending issue, but he's got a spending issue. So
in dentistry, and there's a lot of like really awesome, like I'm just going to make a plug, our Gemini laser is an amazing thing. It's kind of costly, but it's going to produce you income later,
Right. So he has tons and tons of credit cards. And so if you are in that situation or have credit card debt and they're charging you 17, 21% interest, and you have money sitting in a money market account, liquid, that's like your emergency fund, paying you 1-2%, hopefully you're earning more than 2 right now, but you're not getting ahead in general. And right now in this second, I wouldn't necessarily rush to go pay off those credit cards. But when we get out of this and your cash flow gets back to normal, you don't want to be in that situation that you've got money set aside in an emergency account and a credit card charging you 17 or 20% interest. You can't get ahead. Mm-hmm. So in this meantime, call the credit card companies and say, hey, would you lower my interest rate? What's the worst thing they're going to say? No.
Yeah.
So call your credit card companies, see if they'll lower your rates, and then see if you can get some 0% out there. Figure out a plan of how you're going to get rid of that debt. And as you're working on your budget, say, okay, the money that I have coming in is down, but I have choice and I have control over the money that's going out. So let me look at the money that's going out and what can I cut back? Are there things that we don't necessarily need to be spending money on? I mean, it's amazing the amount of times that I get budgets from clients and I'll just question, I'll be like, that's really your cell phone bill? Or are you really spent that much on eating out? Or you really spent that much on lunches or groceries or, whatever, car insurance, whatever it may be. So look at where you're spending your money and where the dollars are going out. And now's a great time to review all your insurance, your disability policy, your life insurance, your long-term care. How much are you spending for these things? Are you spending too much? Do you have not enough coverage? Do you have too much coverage? All of those things, that's what you can be doing with your time so that you can then be set to go and not really have to worry about it for another year and focus on your practice and take advantage of everything that happens when we get out of this sticky situation.
I love it. And as soon as your practice opens, it's going to be wild because I know as a hygienist that we schedule our patients out every 6 months. And sometimes it's like 6 months plus a couple weeks because we don't have time in our schedule. So make sure that you're also game planning what your schedule is going to look like when you do open up. If you do always have a full schedule, are you going to have to open up a new chair? Are you going to have to get another person in there so that way you can game plan your finances and game plan, okay, how is my office going to flow once these doors open up and all these back patients are coming in?
Absolutely. And then the other thing too is look at the liabilities that you have. Like if you own your own equipment or your building or all, any business debt that you have, check into the SBA program that's out there with a loan and adjusting, interest rates are around 4%, I've heard. So look to see, just take a really good assessment of where you are. What do you have coming in? What do you have going out? The stuff that you owe, what's the interest rate on those things? Where are the accounts that you have, and what adjustments can you make so that you come out of this in a much better financial state than you were before?
Yep. It looks like we have another question from Chitra Durgam. Hi, Chitra. Is it good to keep cash in a market account if we want to take advantage of lowered prices? Sorry, let's read this again. Is it good to keep cash in a market account if we want to take advantage of lowered priced items in the immediate future?
So money market accounts is where you want to keep your your liquid money, and ideally in an insured money market account. And so in general right now, the ones that we're using, clients are getting about 2.2 to 2.5%. So you should be earning money like that. You don't necessarily, it shocks me the amount of times that people will have like 100 grand in their checking account. You don't want to do that. Utilize your checking account for all the money coming in and out, but then make sure you have the insured money market account. And yes, accumulate some cash if you're able to. Take advantage, if you're able to do the SEP IRA, take advantage, invest in the stock market right now, do the SEP, do the IRAs, contribute to all those things, because the stock market is lower today than it was a few months ago. And so take advantage of that. And a lot of people are talking, real estate, that there's going to be some opportunities with that as well as, you've got gas prices. That was the biggest talk prior to all of this, was the big question of, are we going into a recession? And you probably heard a lot about this yield curve, the yield curve. Oh my gosh, we're going to have a recession in 12 to 18 months because of an inverted yield curve. Well, what does that mean? An inverted yield curve means that if you have money with us in a money market account and you're earning 2.5%, you're earning 2.5% and your money's totally liquid. You can call me and say, hey, I need my money out of my money market account. It just takes a day for us to get out of that money market account, and then we can get the money to you. Versus if you take that money and put it into a government bond for 30 years, you would earn less than that money being liquid. That's what an inverted yield curve is. And in general, we always all think about, if something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And if something doesn't really make sense, there's something that's kind of wrong. Well, that's what's wrong, was the inverted yield curve. So we had that, as well as then we had the big talk and the big concern of how we would get into a recession would be inflation. And now with everything that's happened, we have crazy inflation on toilet paper and hand sanitizer and certain things, but then you have gas prices.
You better be brushing your teeth, okay?
Exactly. So we have gas prices that have come down. And so we're in this just crazy market craziness right now. And so we don't know quite yet what's going to happen and how we're going to come out of that and what areas are going to be affected. But there are areas that are going to be affected. And so if you have the ability to put cash on the sidelines or take advantage of the SEP IRA, the Roth, do all of those things now. And then yes, have cash set aside to take advantage of the opportunities that may come out there. There may be some great businesses. Like we plan to expand nationally. And so I have been looking at doing an acquisition of a financial advisor's practice in Florida. And with everything going on, I just kind of put that to the wayside. Well, the conversations that I've now been having are, gosh, there will probably be a handful of financial advisors that don't want to go through this and don't want to handle the stress of this anymore. So they may be selling their practice. That same thing may happen in the world of dentistry, that there are people out there that may want to get out and just be like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want the stress. They're maybe going to look at taking early retirement, and maybe that's you. Who knows? And so there's opportunities out there, and maybe that could be a practice that you could buy from someone at a lower discount than you could have bought 6 months ago.
Right, glass half full. If we for some people.
Yes, for some.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we don't have any more questions. Nicole, is there any last words that you want to say? I would love it if you could drop the link to that kids podcast. I think that's amazing to teach kids while they're young to handle money And we know that there's not a lot going on. So what better time to use for your kids than to distract them with something where they're learning?
Exactly. Yeah, it's every Thursday at 1 o'clock Central Time. And you can just go to prosperwell.com, and then my assistant will send you out the Zoom link, and you can hop your kids on, and it'll give you 20 minutes of a break so you can work on your budget. So your kids can learn about money.
There, you get 20 minutes, they get 20 minutes, and then you can collaborate afterwards. Maybe your kid can help you with your financial plan.
Exactly. The biggest thing is don't panic, and look at this from a big picture standpoint. And I've always believed out of some of the worst things in life comes some of the best. And so for me, it's learning how to work remotely, and it's been learning how to use technology to communicate and connect with people. And so look at all the different things that you can do to take this as a positive, and use the time to get yourself in a better financial place when this tide turns and we're out of this.
Agreed. Thank you so much for meeting with us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
To come to our Ultradent page and share this live with us. We wish you well and have a great Monday.
You too. Thank you.
You're welcome.